Welcome to another interview with Wonderland. I'm Eileen Chevalier with Night King Press. It's a family company.
It is.
My husband and I started writing way back in 2019, 18, and went to a conference, learned about writing, realized that wasn't going to happen. They didn't want to publish our things because Mike wanted to put something out for free, and I wanted to do something they said I couldn't do. Someone has since done that thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you have since done that thing.
No, the thing that I didn't do. I've done another thing.
That they also said you couldn't do.
They also said I couldn't do.
We're into doing things that people can't do.
We are. And I think like having we're obviously really small right now. Mm-hmm. But it allows us to do really interesting things. And for instance, one of the things that Wonderland is going to do is have an animation for Hearts and Stones. And so I think that...
An animated movie.
An animated movie, right.
You just said animation, which could mean any length.
Oh, sorry. It'll actually be 4 films.
It will be 4 films.
And...
Sorry, this is actually going to be like 70 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
So I think that like kind of outside the box thinking is really fantastic because it's like, oh, well, does it have to be this way? Can it be that way?
Well, yeah, even for me, I'm like, why would I go to a traditional animation company if I could start my own animation company?
Yeah.
And have better pay for my animators and give them more time off.
Yeah. I mean, theoretically, all those things are possible. Like, I remember we were so naive when we started and we were like, oh, this will be great. Our authors will get so much more than traditional publishing.
And I think they will. I think we all will once.
Eventually.
Because I think the big thing about Night King Press is we're making money to make things. And we're making things to make, like, not to make money.
Yeah. It's a means to an end.
It's a means to an end. And the end is not money.
Yeah. The end is making the work.
The end is making
putting
more
the work out there. Yeah.
So I think that's a big way we differ from traditional publishing companies.
Right. So... You were the last of the 4 authors in our family to write so far. Hopefully we'll have a 5th one day. He has a lot of great ideas.
He does.
So hopefully that will happen. But I would love for you to talk about, since this is a family thing, Mike and I started the company to put out our work. And then as soon as we told our kids that we were going to start our own company, our oldest started writing. And so she put her book out in 22, Second Nature of Indigo. And you got to see that. And I think that really inspired you.
And it was in early 23 that I started writing.
Oh, wow. And it was the end of 22 when Abin's book came out, which was really interesting. So you saw the process happen.
I did, and it was a long process. It was a long and arduous process.
Yes. So before that, when Abin first started writing, which was in 19
or 18.
I think it was 19 because we knew we were going to start a publishing company, but we didn't start until 2020.
Yeah.
We just like knew that was going to happen I guess it was like November of 2019.
Yep.
And I think as soon as we said we were starting a publishing company, Abin started writing, and she would read to us at night what she had written. So she wrote the whole book in 3 months.
And then had to tear it apart.
And then spent 3 years like finishing it.
Yeah.
It felt like forever. It wasn't 3 years. But I think that, and I had read some of what I had been writing years before. So I think that really inspired you because then you would do that. You would read to us what you had written.
I would write an average of like 2,000 words a day. And read it because that was how much was like a goods night.
It was amazing. It was so fantastic.
Yeah.
So I feel like over the years now that you've been working on this thing, you've kind of changed from that. Like you've developed so much as a writer. First of all, you should all go watch Cringe and Delulu. That's the best video ever.
The Chevalier Sisters YouTube channel.
Yes, it's so fantastic because I think you did go into it very much like, oh, this will be just
the best thing in the world.
Yeah, and like what could go wrong? And
I had a very big head when I started writing.
Well, I think if you don't think that way initially, you're probably never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, there is a level of, we talked about this in
necessary delusion.
my oven and my video. There is, I worked so hard on writing and drawing because I thought I was the best. And there was a level of like, I knew I could get better.
Yeah.
And I actually drew an entire manga and it was really bad, but I knew that when I finished it, I knew it was bad, but I had also started it 4 times and I finished it once.
Yeah.
And
so much work.
It was so much work.
It was so much work.
And that is why I can draw what I can draw today.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I did that. I mean, maybe I should have taken a little bit better care of myself while doing that.
Yeah.
But there is this level of you have to just think you're going to make it to make it.
Yes.
And I definitely had that.
Yeah. And it's like,
and I still have that.
A lot of people say fake it till you make it. But I think like there was nothing fake about it.
There was nothing
except
fake
for
about
maybe like how much you thought you could accomplish.
But I don't even think that was wrong, because I think that's why people, even though I was doing such a bad job, some people were like, oh, this is cool. It was because I thought it was so cool.
Yes. Well, and it is. It's
cool.
a really interesting story.
It's a cool world.
Yeah.
Its downfall was definitely the art and my artistic ability.
Oh, interesting.
And my paneling ability and pacing ability.
Well,
and
so in a manga, it's kind of like...
It's a comic. But
yes.
read the opposite direction.
So you have to set up all the panels, like all of the... It's not just like, here's a square, here's a rectangle.
There's a lot of dynamic spacing that you can do, and transitions were an interesting one. Establishing shots were an interesting one. And all of that has helped me with my visual design, especially as I go into this animation I'm working on.
That's what I was going to point out. Like, I think that it's directly translating.
It is. It really is. I think that's why manga and anime are so closely linked. Not just because anime has always been a way of advertising for manga, but because it just transitions so easily. Mm-hmm. It's a visual format to a visual format with words, and it's just changing the words to audio.
Right.
And I think that's so fascinating. And comics and manga especially are such an important link to me. I absolutely love that format. I love the just way of doing that. And I'm also learning Japanese. And so being able to read, reading took me a really long time. So I always enjoyed comics when I was little.
I was good. That too. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh yes.
I always
that
enjoyed,
makes sense because you're dyslexic. It took you a lot longer to read.
I read a ton of the Smurfs comics when I was little. And it was so fun because it was something I could understand. And also all big words in the Smurfs are replaced with Smurf, which was perfect. Because if there was ever a word I didn't know, I could just mentally replace it with Smurf. And that was fantastic. So now that I'm trying to learn Japanese, I have manga in Japanese. And again, I'm having that experience of, oh my gosh, if I don't understand it, I can just look at the pictures and understand a little bit more. And I love that format. I love how much storytelling you can do through both. Because it's my two loves. It's my love of written and like narrative long form stories, and also drawing.
Yes. And that is like so much is clicking for me right now. So in the last, we did characters already. Mm-hmm. And so in that video, we talk a little bit about how your visual progression and your written progression where they were happening together. So you weren't like established as an artist and then you started writing, and you weren't an established writer and then you started doing your artwork. Both of those things happened simultaneously. And that totally makes sense. Given
it was because I always associated
consuming.
Mm-hmm. I always associated good writing and good art together. Mm-hmm. Good visual art.
Well, and I was thinking the other day as I was looking more so at the animation that you're working on. Mm-hmm. I was looking at that and I was thinking the way that you tell stories visually and the way that you tell stories with words, it's so similar.
Yeah.
And like all that, because I was an art teacher. And so you teach the elements of art But it's the same. I mean, it's just some people call them the elements of design. So when I was in design school, it's elements of design. They're all the same elements. It's the same elements of writing.
It's the elements of composition.
It's the elements of composition. Absolutely. And we actually really wanted to do this composition class where, you know, my husband's a songwriter, and to bring together like lots of different methods of composing and talk about how composition is just composition.
Throughout all forms of art.
Absolutely. And so I think I would love to know, because when I got to design school, I was like, I'm a designer.
Yeah.
That's what I am. Like, that's
mentally
when you're trying to understand like what you're good at, what you do, what you naturally are as a person. So how do you see yourself? Because I know that you have, like, obviously you've written these amazing novels and you have animation that you're doing and all of this artwork. So like, what is that? Like, how do you identify with those modalities?
I think my main, if I was going to distill myself into one thing, it would be a storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's funny.
I know, it's funny because given my book and what a storyteller means in my book. But it really is. It's no matter what format, whether it's a picture or a painting or an animation or a written book, like, I'm trying to tell you a story as quickly as possible. Honestly, it's really fascinating. Because while we were reading
you take forever to figure everything out.
But then once
you just spent so much time figuring out the hearts. I mean, I remember talking to you about that, and it was just like there was so much to it, and
it really is.
And then it's like boop 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 here in the book. It's like these tiny little pieces, but you know it all and you understand it all.
Yeah, it was so interesting because as I was reading it to you guys, Dad was constantly like, slow down. Like, your actual story per word is so much high.
So dense.
Like,
it's so dense.
And even now I'm looking back on this book and I'm like, I need to condense this down further for the movie, because for a movie you have like 3 hours to tell the story that I tell in like 8 hours of a book. And of course it's different pacing because words take up more than images. But there is a level of, it's going to be, I mean,
one image is worth 1,000 words, so it's probably going to be like 5 minutes long.
It's going to be even more condensed. But I'm so dialogue heavy. My book is so dialogue heavy that I just have to take out some of the dialogue to fit. Like, I think I could tell the story visually in that amount of time, but the actual, like, speaking is going to take some cutting down. Nice.
So, you're a storyteller.
I am.
You tell us these stories. You obviously have written... Oh. Haha. This is slightly out of my reach.
I thought you were going for the hot chocolate, honestly.
I also have hot chocolate hidden away. So this is part 1 of Hearts and Stones. This is the one that's out June 20th. Part 2 will be out. And then the whole book will come out in November. But it's really just parts 1 and 2. So all of it will be out, just not in like the single book format until November. So you've done this. You're making this manga that you're showing animation, sorry.
No,
that you're showing everyone on your Instagram with your weekly updates. And you did your manga, which I don't know if you've shared.
I used to. I took a lot of it down because it was really mediocre, and I was like, okay, and now we're gonna forget that happened.
Well,
I honestly don't think I should forget.
I think a retrospective would be great.
I think it's very important. I would actually love to revisit that world. There's a lot of plot holes.
Really interesting.
There's a lot of things that I don't love anymore about that world.
But, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what I want to know. How did you get to be the person? I mean, you are 16.
I am 16.
Which is a little crazy. For me, I mean, you've always been precocious.
Yeah.
You were probably 2, maybe 3. She comes into the room, she'd written an E, because, you know, Ella. So we always called Mariella May growing up. So she'd written an E on this board. And I was like, oh, babe, that's great, but it's upside down and backwards. And so she flipped the board and turned it so that if I could see through the board, it would have been correct. And I was like, oh, dang. Okay. You're you got it all figured out.
It's always that's the fascinating thing. I was actually learning recently that not everyone has like the same way they see things. I internally 3D everything. Like everything is 3D. I think that's why I dream so vividly.
Yes.
Everything in my mind is 3D. I can like build it and take it apart and rearrange everything.
Me too. I thought that was completely normal until I went to architecture school.
Yeah, apparently that's not universal.
I was like, I can just walk through the building and see if I like it. And they were like, what? You haven't? It's not there. And I'm like, I know, but I mean,
yeah.
How could you not walk through the building? How could you design anything if you can't walk through it?
That's the fascinating thing for me. Like I always just took it for granted that it was a fact of you could just see things and be in things inside your own head.
And you could be in the stories.
And I could be in the stories. It was actually fascinating because I could run through a scene with lighting, camera, shot, everything.
Oh, wow.
Perspective, how I'm going to move everything. Before I even have words on the page. Before I've even written it. Which means I can edit it in my own head. Of course, I don't catch everything. Of course, I don't think of everything and all the storytelling things. But I could just see it in my head so easily before even just
well, definitely it showed me that your like visual spatial ability was super fantastic. It did take you longer to read.
It did. It took me a really long time to learn how to read,
but you know, it took me a long time to read. It took my parents with dyslexia is inherited. But also I think it does play into that like spatial ability because you can easily move things, but then you just too easily move things.
I know. That was always my problem. I could rearrange. It was actually fascinating because you noticed this when I was learning how to read. I could get big words.
Oh,
big
words
always
were easy.
The small words.
It was which was so weird as a teacher.
Yeah, because you're like, what do you mean you can get define, but you can't get
two? Oh my god!
Like, I could get define because it's so long. My brain just sees it and understands it.
That was really fascinating, and so it had nothing to do with your ability to read. It was just your ability to like
compose it.
Well, and like know the order, like go linearly.
Well, yeah, how I've understood how I read naturally is I just take portions of it. This is actually really fascinating with learning another language, especially a kanji-based language, is it's totally different. It's so visual. So actually something of interesting statistic I learned is people, especially in China, are diagnosed with dyslexia less because of how kanji works.
Yeah.
It's just easier for dyslexic people's brains. And in a lot of ways, I am finding it easier. And in a lot of ways, obviously, it's another language. So it's hard. But I really appreciate kanji for that. And I always took... It's actually interesting because I have another distinctive memory where I was like, oh, look, it's organic. And you were like, no, that says original. Because I only take some of it. I only take the most important letters from a word. Which is why spelling is hard, because I can remember the most important letters.
Which is why editing anything you write is really difficult.
But it means I can take the most important elements of anything and see it and understand it. So I can
it probably is also like what you're looking for. You're looking for like what's the most important thing here.
Exactly, which is it's really interesting because I write super differently than Aubin does, and Aubin's like, you didn't describe this room at all, and I'm like, what? Yeah, I did. And then we read through it, and I didn't. Yeah. It's just I can see it, and I know the important elements. I'm like, yeah, there's a table there.
Yes, I think most of the first pass of editing for you was just you have to let us know what that looks like. Yeah. Because you know what it looks like, but we have no idea. Yeah. So, okay, but here's what I really want to know. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're 16 currently. You've done a ton of projects already. Yeah. I mean, I watched it happen because in addition to being your publisher, I am your mom. I watched it happen, and it's fascinating to me. I think a lot of things had to come together for you to be able to accomplish what you've been able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I really admire is that you can know what it is you need or just want and
do it.
You're very good at chasing that thing and making things happen. You've always been incredibly good at making things happen. And I wonder, like, how were you able? Because I think that a lot of people like have that ability, but then it gets squashed out of them. You know, the people around them are like, no, you're going to class and doing this subject and this thing right now, and you don't get to decide what you need. You don't even get to think about what you need.
Yeah.
Or definitely not what you want.
No, it was definitely because I was homeschooled. And because,
but it wasn't just because you were homeschooled, because there are plenty of homeschool kids.
No, I think another thing that it was is I was given. So a classic rule in our house was always, you can go as high as you can climb, because then you can climb back down. And so whenever we climbed trees, no one could help you. No one could assist you in any way. So I realized at a young age, I can go as high as I can climb.
Yeah.
So that was with everything. I could draw as well as I draw. Every single thing I did, I could do as well. Because I saw Hank, my brother, get so much better at climbing. He could go up the largest trees in our... he goes up crazy high trees.
It's pretty crazy. And it's so wild.
He could only go as high as he can climb. So,
which is the very top of the trees
in
our
yard.
I
could never go as high as he could climb. And so I realized there are things you can do better than other people. And I'm sure if I had climbed more trees and spent more time climbing trees, I could have climbed as high as he can. But I realized there were other things I wanted to climb. And you had a vast array of art supplies. You had textiles, you had painted, my favorite,
all kinds of pastels.
It was actually fascinating because
that's
how I got to find my first favorite medium, which is watercolor. And it's still one of my, it's still probably my favorite medium because it's so easy for me. I've heard people describe watercolor as being very difficult, but it's always been the most natural for me. And I don't know if that's just because of how I draw and how I build things and how I see things. Because I always saw it in layers of how...
I think too, because you started it really young.
I did.
Because I've taught middle schoolers and I've taught high schoolers art. And I think there's something to...
being younger.
When you're young, if you become familiar, which is not going to happen in a one block a week art class in public school, but if you have materials at home and you can play with them, if you become familiar with something, then you already know what its limitations are. But if you don't know the limitations of that medium, then you try to impose your own will on
your own ideas of how it would work,
and your ideas aren't going to work because that's not the right medium for you. So finding the correct medium for your idea, I think, is really important. But because you were able to play
with it
in a lot of different media, then you could find out what thing worked for what you were trying to accomplish, and then you could change. This is what's possible. This is what I want to do with that.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. That reminds me of one of my class projects. We were doing a paper. I was probably in elementary school. We were doing a paper on World War II. And you were you can use any medium, I think, as well as writing something. And I did. I got out the printer and I copied images from a book we had on World War II. And I scrapbooked them together and I did... a really I'm 7 at this point, but I did I used watercolor to do brownish blood splatters, and I did
nice.
This whole, because I wanted to tell you a story. It wasn't just World War II happened. It was World War II.
You want us to feel something.
Hurt. And it's been a fascinating thing. I've always learned a lot about World War II, and I think really taking in how to showcase something raw and painful for everyone involved has affected how I write today in a lot of ways.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think a quick thing I learned about World War II is no one was the true, no people group was the true villain. Because also thinking about The Book Thief, which I read more recently, I think when you try and blame an entire group for what they were told to do by certain people, you lose the humanity in the story. And I think something I'm trying to do with Hearts and Stones is showcase how an awful ruler can make any kingdom awful.
Well, and that choices, they seem easy when you don't have to make them.
Yeah. And it's so much easier to... I think this is another thing about publishing. It's so much easier to go with the crowd and go with what
Yes.
people have told you. And I think that's another thing about school. Like,
Right.
people could tell me what to do, but I, from a very young age, realized that's not going to help me. Like, just doing what other people think is best for me isn't going to help me. Like,
Well, and you always knew. I was so fascinated because I did not grow up like you. I grew up
in a
with a very like, this is
is how you
allowed,
do
this
it.
is not allowed.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about yourself? Well, just stop.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, and not that that was like an intentional thing, but
No.
that's just a very common way that people live. And they're like, this is the right way to live and this is the wrong way to live. And so for me as your parent, it was really challenging
to see
and
me.
also refreshing and wonderful. Like, it was this mix of like, I love this so much. I love that you know what you want to do and you can say no to stuff and walk away with like zero care. You're like, well, that's not for me. And it made me so happy.
Yeah.
But it also was really hard because it wasn't part of my paradigm.
No.
And so you challenged me to have better paradigms because you were able to do that. But like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
but that you had it in you to be aware and make those choices for yourself so young was really fascinating to me. Like, I don't know. I wonder if I just like beat it out of Aubin more and made her more compliant. And then I was like, that was a terrible idea. Let me listen to my child more.
I think there is also an innate style to it. Like, I think I do just have an innate,
like, you know who you are.
not just knowing who I am, but I'm a bit of a rebel, just innately. I think I don't like doing things that have already been done. I don't like doing things I've already done or anyone else has already done.
I don't know that that's a rebel so much as like an adventurer. Like, you want to find something
An
new.
inventor. Like, I've always wanted to do things, not just to be special, because I think that's a silly way of putting it, but it's to make something special. And I think as I've gotten better and better at creating things, it's become less and less about me and more about the work.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing I want to do is tell the story of how anyone can do anything unique, you know? And I wish more people tried.
Well,
And spent the time, because
I think
there's another thing. When I was little, you told me, I told you that I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't think I could because it was so hard. And you told me I could do anything I wanted to, but I would have to want to do it.
this
And
is accurate.
that has been my motto for basically my whole life. Like, I can do anything. I can climb the tree if it's the tree I want to climb.
Yeah.
And I think it was when I was little, I watched anime, especially Yu-Gi-Oh! And I loved it. And I was fascinated by it. But I didn't, I hadn't heard of the concept of anime. Like, that wasn't the word I used for it. And it wasn't until years later that I was watching Naruto, well, that Hank was like, we should watch Naruto together, that I heard it with the context of the word anime. And at first I was like, anime? I've heard that before. And then I watched more of it. And I think it was a medium that I was like, oh, I love this medium.
You resonate.
I resonated with that medium. And I think people will find that in any medium. And I think people just don't look at enough mediums. Like,
oh, right, because they're too busy
trying
to be
to
acceptable
find,
to everyone else that they don't know what they really like.
Not everyone is going to love my work, and I understand that. And I think the problem with a lot of people is, even if they do make it, even if they make it in a medium they love, they'll try and please a lot of people. And I think when you're trying to do it just to please, you forget the story you're telling through it. I think we're seeing that in big studios like Disney. I feel like they're losing a lot of their, and not to say like their old stories were better stories, I think they were just more genuine with them. I think a lot of the stories they create now could have amazing potential.
Right, like they got lost in the making of that story
I
rather
believe-
than going, how is this going to play out in the public eye?
I believe there's a level of just making the story for the story's sake rather than making the story for the public's sake.
And also, I think there's, a respect for the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how this relates to you, so
Yeah.
elaborate. But I think that some stories, like, they are what they are, and characters are what they are. And if you try to force them into a mold in order to be more acceptable or more, noticed or appreciated by certain people, then you're losing who it could be, and you're not like being honest about who that character needs to be or what the story needs to be.
I think, especially thinking about that, that was a crossroads I came to a lot with trying to market my book, because I'm like, it's not a romantasy. It's not even a traditional classic fantasy. It's not like, and you can't really use all these tropes that they try and use for it. And I think that that's another thing that's creating this disrespect for the story. When you try and condense it into tropes, you forget what the story is telling you, because it's not telling you the tropes.
Right.
It's not telling you the little small clickbaity things you can put in a thing. And I think, again, that's another thing I found fascinating about anime, is especially because a lot of them are really long. There's a level of Naruto that's just Naruto. It's just what you would think, what you see on the posters. It's ninjas fighting each other. But there's a level of Naruto that's fascinating and deep and tragic and introspective and talking about reality and how we treat people and outsiders. And that's the level that you're not going to see in a clickbaity post.
Right.
And
because it's not quick.
It's
and
not
easy.
quick. It's not easy.
It takes a long time to digest.
Because it also takes a long time to set up. You can't just fall in love with a character and understand how, I think that this is a problem they're running into with like morally gray characters. Is they're morally gray without the drive I think we've seen in previous morally gray heroes in older stories. And I'm going to bring up anime. Not to say anime is great. I think there's a lot of anime that suffer from the tropification.
Well, that's like,
and
I mean,
any
anytime
form
you
of media.
group anything.
It's any form of media.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of great fantasy books that do an excellent job of this. I think there are a lot of poor fantasy books that don't.
There's always a spectrum in every category.
And I think something that I would like to see is just more tries at it. Not more... I think I'm separating it in my mind into two separate things. Like, there's a way of producing content, and there's a way of inventing content. And I wish more people invented content than just produced it. Because I think there's a level of, I know how, like, authors who are established, and they can write a different version of a book they already wrote. But when they wrote that book originally, they were inventing it. They were creating a world. They were creating characters and a story and a narrative and telling you a reason.
Yes.
And they can tell you that reason again, but I wish they told it in a different way.
So for me, as an art teacher, that's art, right?
Yeah.
When you have a new perspective or you have something that you want to share in a particular way, like, I think that my least favorite art, especially having taught art, is just copying. They're like, oh, look, here's this great artist. Let's recreate. You're not recreating their thing, first of all.
Because
but
the
it's
point
just like
wasn't
such a poor copy. So rather than make poor copies of something that was great when it was made, just make something great now, because the reason it's art is because it was created then without the example of that.
Yeah.
So I think...
And I think people
that's
get
what you're
confused.
going for.
I think people get confused because they're like, you can't make anything unique. Everything's been done before. And in a way, yes, everything has been done before, but not by you.
And not in the way that you could do it.
Doing it. And there are so many great stories in this world. And it was actually fascinating when I was growing my art style and my ability to draw, is whenever I looked at an artist, I never felt the urge to copy their style. Like, I've seen posts of people talking about a lot of artists I really look up to, and like, man, I just wish I could draw in their style. But for me, I never wanted to draw in anyone else's style.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I wanted to make my own style. Not out of like thinking about it and being like, oh yes, what is my style going to look like? But just doing it and just finding my style. And I think because of, I don't know, the like hashtagging of things, people are trying to fit into categories and boxes and ideas.
That's so fascinating.
And it's the same as like the tropification of stuff. Like, I think we're
It's
all
the tropification of yourself.
Of yourself.
What?
And I think that that's a really sad thing we're seeing of a lot of people. And I wish I could just tell everyone, like, you don't need to be a style because you're going to find your own.
Have your own.
Like,
yeah.
I love a lot of different things, and I don't need to love any of them less so I can fit into a category, you know?
Right.
Because I can make my own category. I can be myself.
Well,
completely.
I think if you see the world in categories and you're like, okay, these people do this thing, those people do that thing, and you make a bunch of judgments
You're
about...
going to get into the problem that I was talking about that I learned through studying World War II. Like, you're going to judge people based off of something they didn't even do. And you're going to judge yourself.
You're gonna not be able to understand what it is to be human because all you've done is put people in really boxy categories.
Yeah.
And so then you can't figure out all the nuance of yourself as a human, as a creator. I mean, we're all creators, right? We're all doing it to some
no matter
extent.
what we're creating something.
Okay, so that's amazing. And I love that you can do all of that. But I also know that you can't do it alone.
I can't. That was a big...
So I would love for you to like
That was a
talk
hard
about what else you
realization.
need as a writer
So...
and whatever else.
Yeah, so it was really painful to realize when I was reading it to you guys that I couldn't do it by myself. And that made me very frustrated.
It was a tough time.
It was really tough. But now I love delegation. Because I know I can't do it, and there's a lot of things I really want to do, and it's very hard for me to let go of things, because for the animation I'm like, yes, I do need to design every character and possibly every environment, but no, maybe I'll just do every single storyboard, and it's so many things, and I'm like, I can't do it all by myself. Obviously, I think an animation is the clearest thing that I can't do by myself. Like, obviously I am doing an animation by myself, but it's 4 minutes and I'm planning on it taking several months, so in order to get a movie length.
And it's not to the level that you want Hearts and Stones.
No, it's a test run. It's for me to figure out animation at a high level, what I like about it, what I need, and what I can expect from my animators. And I think doing that will be helpful to all the people I work with in future.
Absolutely.
And I think accepting the fact that I needed you guys so much helped me be a better author to work with. When you were editing in any format.
So the first time I gave you feedback,
I think I cried.
that was, like we were like, okay, the book's done. We're going to start editing it. And I started reading it and started talking to you. And you were just like so resistant.
I was.
And I get that because you are developed as a person and you're like, this is how I see it. And this is, but there is that thing of translation. So you have this amazing idea. But then like, how do you get it to anyone else?
Yeah.
And I think that process is, if it's a big project, it's communal. Like you can do a small thing on your own, but to do a large thing to a large audience,
to a high quality
is going to take more than just you.
Yeah.
And so what made you start to let go?
Well, I think it was when I realized that you guys had better ideas than I did.
So you started to trust our perspective?
At first I got annoyed.
Oh.
Because you guys had better ideas about my story than I did.
Oh, yeah.
And that was very hard. So it wasn't until I realized that it was God's story first and foremost. And I was just the one writing it. And it was my story in the fact that it was based off of my experiences in my life and my way of telling stories. But it was all God's because everything is all God's.
Yeah.
So it was until I took my pride out of the equation that I could finally let go.
And that's why Thad says pride won't get us where we're going.
Pride won't get us where we're going. It's made a life of standing in the way. And that was very true for a long time. And yeah, I've gotten so much better.
Well, but you remain the curator, right? So people can present ideas to you and they're like, oh, have you thought about this or whatever? And then you get to decide how that fits in your world and if it fits in your world.
Yeah. And I think especially how it's just helped me so much with being a better creator in general. Like when I get suggestions and take it, it's not just for that project, it's for all of my projects.
Mm-hmm.
When I take a suggestion on illustration, I get better
Because you incorporate it.
because I incorporate it, and it doesn't mean I need people less. It means I'm actually learning from the people who are helping me.
Right. Yeah. And you're developing on your own.
Yeah.
Nice. So we kind of know what's next for you, which is a decade of Hearts and Stones and the sequel and the movies and
the short stories.
So exciting. Oh, the Storytellers collection. I'm thrilled about that. So on the record now, you tend to love procrastination.
I do.
So how do you think that's going to go for you over the next decade with your like moments of procrastination versus the like work that you're setting out to do now?
So actually, a very inspiring story to me was I learned about a story from people who've worked actively of Hayao Miyazaki and how he creates. And that is so helpful for me because how Hayao Miyazaki creates is he fully drafts out the first part of his movies. And then he procrastinates a little bit, but he gets the second part done. And then he picks up the most random and wild hobbies to procrastinate on the third part of his story, to the point where people who work at the thing, they're like, he's making ramen for them, he's cutting firewood, and they're like, oh, Miyazaki, you must just finish the script because we're already animating it. And I think that's going to be me in a lot of ways. I think because I already have the books done, it'll be easier for me. I think I'm really good at reacting to information. So I think I'll do a really good job of when my animators come to me with drafts and whatnot, I'll be able to critique it and
keep it happening even if
really
you're not involved in everything.
I think the hardest thing for me is drafting, is creating it. And I'm finding that out with the second book of Hearts and Stones right now because I know the idea, but I don't know how I'm going to get there. And in some ways that's really fun, and in some ways that's really overwhelming.
I find it fascinating. So you wrote this wonderful story. How many words?
Which one?
The first time you were writing the sequel to Hearts and Stones. 10,000?
10. Yeah, 10,000.
It was fantastic. It was funny. It was great. We got to see like the characters really just coming through. Then you decided to change something at the end of the first book. At the end of Hearts and Stones, not part 1, part 2.
Not just it was a lot.
And so the entire book got scrapped. The first
and
draft.
10,000 words within the previous book. So that's 20,000 words that got scrapped. And it's better now. I do think it's much better now. Because the original one was fun, but it was going to be an arduous
the
journey.
second one is really fascinating. And there are things that you get to play with that you don't get to play with if you had done it the other way. Like you just
really, there's
get to
so
play
much.
with different things. So
yeah, I've also learned more about specific characters. Like I've cultivated and discovered more about their
what would they do in this scenario?
Yeah, and particularly what one character is most afraid of.
Interesting.
Yeah,
awesome. Well, let's stop for now.
Yeah.
And you can find other videos. So there's a characters video where we talk about the characters of Wonderland and how you develop them and how they are portrayed. And then there's a one on Wonderland. So check out both of those as well. And let's do another author interview in a few years.
Absolutely.
See where you're at. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys.
Bye.